Welcome to my channel Old Valuable Chiller. Today we are going to talk about the 1-cent coin from the United States dated 1974. This Lincoln penny is one of the most collected and researched coins by collectors and coin enthusiasts around the world. The 1974 1-cent coin has a lot of history, value information, minting details, errors, varieties, and facts that make it fascinating for numismatists and investors. If you are searching about the 1974 penny value, the 1974 D penny, the 1974 S penny, or the famous 1974 aluminum penny, then this detailed guide is for you. The 1974 1-cent coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. This design was created by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and it continues to be one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. The obverse shows Lincoln facing right, with the words "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" on the left, and the date 1974 on the right. Depending on the mint, you may see no mint mark for Philadelphia, a small d for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. On the reverse, you will see the Lincoln Memorial, which replaced the wheat ears design in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse also carries the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and the denomination 1 cent. Now, let's discuss the mintage. The 1974 penny was produced in very large numbers, making it a common coin in circulation. At the Philadelphia Mint, over 4 billion pieces were struck without a mint mark. At the Denver Mint, more than 4.2 billion coins were minted with a D mint mark. The San Francisco Mint struck over 377 million coins with the S mint mark, including both circulation strikes and proof coins. Because of this massive mintage, most 1974 1-cent coins are still common in circulation today and usually worth face value if worn. But collectors always want to know about value. So how much is a 1974 penny worth? In circulated condition, most examples are only worth 1 cent. However, in uncirculated or mint state condition, values can rise depending on grade and quality. A 1974 penny from Philadelphia in MS-65 condition can bring a few dollars, while a Denver or San Francisco example in the same grade can be similar. Proof coins from San Francisco are especially sought after by collectors, with brilliant mirrored fields and frosted designs. Some deep cameo-proof 1974 pennies can be valued higher, especially if graded PR69 or PR70. One of the most famous stories about the 1974 1-cent coin is the experimental aluminum penny. In 1974, the United States Mint experimented with striking pennies in aluminum due to the rising cost of copper. About 1.5 million aluminum cents were produced, but they were never released for circulation. Most of them were melted down, but a few escaped into the hands of officials and collectors. The 1974 aluminum penny is considered extremely rare and highly valuable. Some reports suggest that if a genuine 1974 aluminum cent were to appear on the market, it could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, the mint has considered these coins to be government property, so ownership is a complicated issue. Aside from aluminum, there are also interesting varieties and errors in the 1974 penny series. Collectors look for doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other striking mistakes. For example, a 1974 doubled die penny can be worth significantly more than face value depending on how strong the doubling appears. A 1974 D penny with a bold repunched mint mark is also collectible. These errors are scarce and can increase the value dramatically, making them highly desirable for coin hunters. Another important detail is the metal composition. The 1974 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Each coin weighs 3.11 grams. This composition remained until 1982 when the mint changed the penny to a copper-plated zinc core to save on costs. Because the 1974 penny is copper-based, it is heavier and has intrinsic metal value compared to modern pennies. Coin roll hunters often save pre-1982 copper pennies because the copper content is higher than face value, though melting them is not currently legal. Let's also take a closer look at grading. The condition of a coin plays the biggest role in its value. A 1974 penny in circulated condition with heavy wear will only be worth 1 cent, but in higher mint state grades, values climb. Collectors prize coins with sharp details, full luster, and no major scratches. Red examples, which retain their original bright copper color, are worth more than brown or red-brown examples. The difference between a brown coin and a full red coin can be many times the value. Proof pennies from San Francisco deserve another mention. In 1974, The mint produced millions of proof sets, and the 1-cent coin in these sets was struck with polished dies and specially prepared planchets. These proof coins often feature deep cameo contrast and are very collectible. A proof 1974 penny in perfect grade can be worth significantly more than its face value, and coin collectors often submit them for grading to achieve higher premiums. If you are a coin roll hunter or someone just checking your change, it's always worth looking at your 1974 pennies carefully. While most are only worth a cent, there's always the chance of finding a rare error, a high-grade coin, or even an unusual variety that collectors will pay extra for. Look for strong doubling on the obverse or reverse, sharp details in the lettering, or unusual planchette flaws. These details can make a common penny into a valuable collectible. The 1974 penny is also important historically because it represents a turning point in United States coinage. The mint was actively experimenting with new metals, new processes, and looking for cost-effective solutions. The aluminum penny was part of this experimentation, and even though it never went into circulation, it remains one of the most famous modern rarities. For long-term collectors, the 1974 penny is a reminder of the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln on U.S. coinage. It also provides opportunities to build sets, whether you are collecting by date, by mint mark, or by type. Many coin albums include spaces for 1974p, 1974d, and 1974s, and filling them with the best examples you can find is a rewarding part of the hobby. So to summarize, the 1974 1-cent coin from the United States may be common in circulation, but it carries with it a rich history, exciting varieties, and the potential for value in certain cases. Whether you have a 1974 penny from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, whether it is a proof, a mint state red example, or an unusual error, there's always something to appreciate. And for those lucky few who ever encounter the legendary 1974 aluminum penny, you're looking at one of the most intriguing coins in US history. First up, where we are going to talk in detail about the 1981 cent coin from the United States. The 1980 penny is one of the most collected Lincoln Memorial cents, and today we will explore its history, design, composition, mint marks, mintage numbers, errors, varieties, and collector value. If you are interested in coin collecting, rare coins, and the fascinating story behind the 1-cent coin, then stay tuned as we go deep into the 1980 penny from the United States. The 1-cent coin from 1980 features the famous design by Victor David Brenner on the obverse. Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears on the front, as it has since 1909. On the reverse, the coin shows the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparro, which was used from 1959 until 2008. If you look closely at the reverse, you can see the tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, which is a small but amazing detail. This design connects American history, art, and currency in a single coin. The 1980 penny was minted in huge quantities, but there are still details that make it special. The Philadelphia Mint produced 7.4 billion coins without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint produced about 5.1 billion with a D mint mark. The San Francisco Mint also made proof coins for collectors, with around 3.5 million pieces. These proof coins have a mirror-like finish and are highly collectible today. So, even though billions of 1980 pennies exist, certain versions, like proofs or error coins, are sought after by collectors. The composition of the 1981 cent coin is another key detail. Unlike modern pennies, which are mostly zinc with a thin copper coating, the 1980 cent is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Each coin weighs 3.11 grams, and this makes it part of the classic copper Lincoln cents that collectors prefer. Many people even keep pre-1982 pennies because of their copper content, since copper is a valuable metal. That means the 1980 penny is not only interesting historically but also significant for its metal value. Collectors love to search for errors and varieties in the 1981 cent coin. Some of the well-known errors include off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, and clipped planchets. A strong double die example can bring a premium in the coin market. For example, a 1980 penny with a clear double die obverse or reverse can sell for much more than its face value. Coins with dramatic off-center strikes or multiple errors are also worth holding on to. This makes searching through your change or old rolls of pennies exciting, because you never know when you might discover a rare error coin. In terms of condition, the grade of the coin is very important. Circulated 1980 pennies are still common, but uncirculated examples with sharp details and bright original luster are far more desirable. Coins graded mint state 65 or higher can bring higher prices. Proof coins from San Francisco, especially those with deep cameo contrast, are collected in certified holders by many enthusiasts. So, the condition of the 1981 cent coin plays a big role in determining its value. When it comes to actual value, most circulated 1980 pennies are worth just 1 cent because of their common nature. However, if you have a coin in pristine condition, especially with a red designation showing full copper luster, it can be worth a few dollars to collectors. Proof versions can also be worth more depending on their grade. And of course, error coins can range from a few dollars to hundreds depending on how dramatic and rare the error is. The key is to carefully check your coins and, if you suspect you have a rare one, consider professional grading. The 1981 cent coin also marks an interesting point in US coinage history. Just 2 years later, in 1982, the composition of the penny was changed from copper to mostly zinc because of rising copper prices. This means that the 1980 penny belongs to the final years of the traditional copper cents, which adds historical significance. Collectors often seek to build complete sets of Lincoln cents, and having examples from the late copper years is essential. Another interesting detail is that billions of these coins are still in circulation, but many are being pulled out by collectors and even by people who hoard copper pennies for their metal content. Over time, high-grade examples will become scarcer, especially since most pennies are heavily used and worn down. That means that searching for rolls of pennies from banks, estate sales, or old collections could still yield some great finds. The 1 cent coin from 1980 is also a reminder of how US currency connects to culture and everyday life. Even though it is just a penny, it carries the image of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected presidents in American history. Holding a 1980 penny is like holding a small piece of history from over 40 years ago, and it represents both American heritage and the story of coinage. For collectors, building a set that includes the 1981 cent coin alongside other Lincoln Memorial cents is a rewarding project. Whether you collect by date, by mint mark, or by condition, the 1980 penny has a place in any collection. It is especially attractive for new collectors because it is affordable, but it also holds long-term value because of its copper composition and potential varieties. When talking about the 1981 cent coin, it is impossible not to mention how important coin grading is. A coin that looks ordinary to the naked eye might actually be worth more if it has sharp strike details, no wear, and strong red luster. Collectors and investors often send coins to professional grading services to get them certified, and having a high-grade 1980 penny with a mint state red designation can make it stand out significantly from a common circulated coin. If you enjoy searching through pocket change or coin rolls, the 1980 penny is definitely one to look for. With billions minted, the odds of finding them are still good, but the fun part is spotting the coins in excellent condition or discovering an unusual mint error. Collectors often share stories of finding valuable error pennies in circulation, so the possibility is always there. The legacy of the 1981 cent coin is tied to the larger Lincoln cent series. Since 1909, the Lincoln penny has been a cornerstone of US coinage, and the Memorial Reverse era, which includes the 1980 penny, lasted for nearly 50 years. This makes the coin both familiar and nostalgic for many people. It represents a period in American coin design that many grew up with, making it a sentimental favorite as well as a collectible piece. So, whether you are a beginner just starting out in coin collecting or an experienced collector adding to your Lincoln cent collection, the 1981 cent coin has plenty to offer. It combines history, design, affordability, and the potential for hidden treasures in the form of rare errors and high-grade specimens. Even though it is just a penny, it carries a story that connects the past to the present and gives us insight into American money, history, and art. In conclusion, the 1981 cent coin from the United States is more than just small change. It is a copper coin with historical value, collectible varieties, and a place in the hearts of collectors. Next up, we are going to talk all about the 1982 1 cent coin from the United States. In this video, we are going to take a deep dive into the history, the details, the varieties, the composition, and the importance of the 1982 penny in US coinage. If you are a collector, a coin enthusiast, or just curious about old coins, the 1982 United States 1 cent coin is one of the most fascinating coins in modern American history. The 1982 penny is especially interesting because it marks a very important transition in the composition of the US 1 cent coin. The 1 cent coin of 1982 comes in multiple varieties, and this year is well known among coin collectors for being unique. Before 1982, the US penny had been made primarily of copper. But due to rising copper prices, the US Mint made a change during the year 1982, switching the composition from mostly copper to mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. This change is what makes the 1982 1-cent coin so collectible and so fascinating. In fact, there are both copper and zinc versions of the 1982 penny, and identifying which version you have can make all the difference. The 1982 penny was minted in several variations. In total, there are 7 recognized varieties of the 1982 1-cent coin. There are large date and small date varieties for both copper and zinc compositions, and these were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. The Denver mint coins carry the D mint mark, while the Philadelphia mint coins have no mint mark. Collectors often spend time studying the date styles to determine whether a coin is a small date or a large date. The small date versions are more desirable, and when combined with the copper composition, they can be worth more than face value. On the obverse of the 1982 penny, we see the familiar design of Abraham Lincoln's portrait, which had been used on the US 1-cent coin since 1909. The reverse of the coin still carried the Lincoln Memorial design, which had been introduced in 1959. So while the design remained the same in 1982, the major change was hidden in the metal composition. This makes the 1982 1-cent coin one of the most intriguing coins for collectors who enjoy searching through pennies to see if they can find the valuable versions. Now let's talk about the composition. The copper 1982 pennies are made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. They weigh about 3.11 grams. The zinc 1982 pennies, on the other hand, are made of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, and they weigh only 2.5 grams. This weight difference is one of the easiest ways to tell the coins apart. Collectors often use a scale to weigh their 1982 pennies. If the coin weighs 3.11 grams, it is copper, and if it weighs 2.5 grams, it is zinc. That simple weight test is one of the most reliable methods for identification. The 1982 1-cent coin is also known for its mintages. Billions of these coins were struck in both copper and zinc during that year. The US Mint produced so many 1982 pennies that they are still very common in circulation today. However, the small-date copper pennies are scarcer and therefore more sought after. Some collectors will carefully examine the shape of the numbers in the date. The small-date variety shows the 2 and 8 with slightly different proportions compared to the large-date variety. This difference might seem minor, but for collectors, it can mean a big difference in value. Many people wonder if a 1982 penny is worth money. The answer is yes, some of them can be. While most 1982 pennies are still only worth face value, certain varieties in high condition or in copper small date form can be worth more. In uncirculated or mint state condition, a 1982 penny can be valued by collectors depending on the variety, mint mark, and condition. Proof coins were also struck in 1982 at the San Francisco Mint with the S Mint mark. These proof 1982 pennies are made with higher quality and mirror-like surfaces, and they are popular with collectors who enjoy complete sets. The story of the 1982 penny reflects the economic conditions of the time. Rising copper prices made it impractical for the US Mint to continue producing pennies out of mostly copper. The switch to zinc was necessary to keep the cost of production below the coin's face value. This decision was important for the long-term continuation of the 1-cent coin in American circulation. Even today, most US pennies are made from the same copper-plated zinc composition that began in 1982. So the 1982 penny truly marks a turning point in American coinage history. For coin roll hunters, the 1982 penny is always a highlight. Searching through rolls of pennies, collectors can still find both copper and zinc examples, and sometimes the valuable small-date copper versions. Using a simple scale and careful observation, anyone can learn to identify the varieties. This makes the 1982 penny a fun and accessible coin for beginner collectors as well as seasoned numismatists. When it comes to value, condition plays a major role. A 1982 penny that has been heavily circulated may not be worth more than 1 cent, but in higher grades, such as mint state condition, values can rise. Grading services have certified many 1982 pennies in mint state, and collectors often pay premiums for coins with strong luster, sharp details, and no major marks. The rarest and most valuable 1982 penny is the small-date copper version from the Denver Mint in high grade. These can bring strong prices among collectors. The 1982 penny is not just a coin but a symbol of change in US coinage. It represents the moment when the cost of raw materials forced a redesign of composition while keeping the same outward appearance. This hidden change makes the 1982 1-cent coin a fascinating subject for study and collecting. For anyone who loves American coins, the 1982 penny is a must-know. So, if you come across a 1982 penny, be sure to take a closer look. Check the date size, weigh the coin, and see if you might have one of the scarcer varieties. Even though billions were made, certain 1982 pennies are much harder to find and can be worth far more than their face value. Collectors continue to search for these coins every day, and the thrill of finding a valuable one keeps the 1982 penny popular. In summary, the 1982 1-cent coin from the United States is a coin that every collector should know about. With 7 varieties, a major composition change, and interesting differences in date styles, it is one of the most studied and collected modern US coins. Whether you are new to collecting or have been searching coins for years, the 1982 penny is a treasure worth learning about. Now we will talk all about the 1991 1-cent coin from the United States, a fascinating part of American coinage history that continues to attract the interest of collectors, historians, and coin enthusiasts around the world. The 1991 penny is part of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which has been one of the most iconic and longest-running designs in United States coinage. In this video, we will explore everything you need to know about the 1991 Lincoln penny, including its history, minting details, composition, design, value, and interesting facts that make it a must-have for coin collectors and those who appreciate American numismatic heritage. The Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin was first introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Replacing the wheat cent design that had been in circulation since 1909, the new reverse featured the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., while the obverse continued to display the bust of President Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. The 1991 penny is part of this iconic series, which remained in production until 2008 before the Lincoln Bicentennial cents and later the shield reverse design were introduced. The D mint mark on the 1991 1-cent coin indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities of the United States Mint. In 1991, billions of Lincoln cents were produced across the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with Denver producing a massive portion of the total mintage. This means that while the 1991 penny is considered common in circulation, it still holds great significance because of its place in American coinage and the many collectors who look for high-grade examples, varieties, and errors from this year. The obverse of the 1991 penny features Abraham Lincoln, facing right, with the word Liberty on the left side of the coin and the motto "In God We Trust" along the upper rim. The date 1991 is displayed to the right of Lincoln, and the small D mint mark is located just below the date, identifying the coin as being minted in Denver. The design is the classic work of Victor David Brenner, first introduced in 1909, and has remained a defining feature of American coinage for over a century. On the reverse, the 1991 Lincoln cent shows the Lincoln Memorial in all its detail, designed by Frank Gasparo. Above the memorial are the words United States of America, and just below that is the motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. At the bottom of the coin, the denomination is clearly marked as 1 cent. A fascinating detail of the Lincoln Memorial design is that with a magnifying glass, you can actually see a tiny depiction of the seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, making this coin one of the few in the world to feature the same person on both sides. As for the composition, the 1991 1-cent coin was made of copper-plated zinc. Since 1982, the United States Mint shifted from 95% copper cents to a composition of 97.5% zinc with a thin 2.5% copper plating. This change was made because the rising cost of copper made it impractical to continue producing pennies with such a high copper content. The 1991 penny, like other post-1982 cents, weighs 2.5 grams and measures 90 millimeters in diameter. Its smooth edge and lightweight feel make it easily recognizable. When it comes to the value of the 1991 1-cent coin, the majority of these coins found in circulation are worth only face value, which is 1 cent. However, condition plays a huge role in coin collecting, and higher grade examples can be worth more. Circulated 1991 pennies are extremely common, but uncirculated examples in mint state condition, especially those graded MS65 and higher, can command a premium. Collectors seek coins with full luster, sharp details, and no noticeable wear. Additionally, there are always error coins and varieties that can add significant value. Some of the most desirable Lincoln cents are those with doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, or other striking errors. For the 1991 penny, certain error varieties have been reported and can sell for much more than face value, sometimes reaching into the tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on rarity and demand. It is always worth carefully checking your 1991 penny under magnification to see if you might have an error coin that adds unique value to your collection. Another important aspect for collectors is the mintage numbers. In 1991, the Denver Mint produced over 4.2 billion Lincoln cents, making it one of the most abundant issues of the series. While this high mintage means the 1991 D penny is not scarce, it still plays a key role in completing a Lincoln cent collection, especially in top-grade conditions or in sets organized by mint mark and year. Over the years, the 1991 D penny has become a nostalgic piece of American currency, often found in pocket change, coin jars, and collections passed down through families. For many collectors, finding a pristine example brings back memories of the early 1990s and the coins that circulated during that period. It remains an accessible and affordable way to begin collecting United States coins, making it especially popular among beginner collectors. In summary, the 1991 D Lincoln 1-cent coin from the United States is a fascinating piece of coinage history. Struck at the Denver Mint, it features the classic design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Composed of copper-plated zinc, it represents the modern era of pennies that began after 1982. While the coin is common in circulation and generally worth face value, higher-grade uncirculated examples and error coins can be worth significantly more. Collectors treasure the 1991 D penny for its historical value, iconic design, and the role it plays in completing a Lincoln Memorial cent collection.